morning, everyone. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills. So today I'm just going to discuss a few things that I think bear watching at this point. The first one being is Tamara Lich's trial is still ongoing. It's supposed to have been only a 16-day trial. I think we're at day 8, and it appears as though that just may go on much longer than expected. So there's no results there as of yet. That is just an ongoing process. And yeah. Another thing that I heard a few days ago was that there has been some attempt to review why food prices are so high. The heads of the major food companies are being asked to go to Ottawa for a meeting with our leader and explain to him why food prices are so high and to come up with a solution to bring the costs down. And if they don't do it, he will, by taxing them. Now, how is an additional tax going to make food prices go down? So, two things come to mind. Either this is three actually. A veiled attempt to try to appear as though you're doing something about a situation that the population is quite upset about, which of course they are. A veiled attempt to add another tax on top of food. Or a worry that certain decisions have made him no longer electable. Mind you, the current election is 2 years away, 2025. So he's got time to turn things around, and I suspect that this is an attempt to deflect blame. But the rising food costs are not completely the fault of these large major food corporations, and anyone with a brain can see that it's easy to blame them because they are the ones that you actually purchase the food from. But bear in mind that a lot of our food comes from the US, and then you have a 30% on top of that just because of our dollar. Versus the US dollar. Our dollar is worth 73 cents, 75 cents on average for every US dollar. So anything that comes from the US is going to be more costly. Anything that we can get locally, well, there is some control over. But the added gasoline costs, which are through the roof here, the added carbon tax that has been placed on just about everything has also increased prices, and those are all the fault of decisions made in Ottawa, have nothing to do with the food companies. Now, the food companies may have their part to play. Maybe they all do. Okay, so they're being dragged to Ottawa for Thanksgiving. And they had better come up with a solution or else, and I expect that they have no solution. So it's either, once again, virtue signaling, an excuse to add another tax, or an excuse to deflect blame. Take your pick, probably all three from what I can tell. I wouldn't be surprised if it was all three. Now, the other thing that's come to light recently is that there is going to be, on September the 20th, and this is for Canada, a 1 million march for children, and this is to protest LGBT indoctrination in schools. So on that day, on September the 20th, they're asking that students don't go to schools, that schools are shut down, and that they attend this march. And these are happening right across Canada. They call it a million march for children. They're hoping to get 1 million people out. By the looks of it, they may get out a lot more than that. They have marches registered in just about every city and town in Canada. So this is nationwide. Of course, the big event will be held in Ottawa. Don't know if anything will come of that, but once again, this is just the prelude, I believe, to what's coming. I mean, we had the truckers, and we all see what's the result of that was. You know, the truckers' protest. We had farmers somewhat protesting, but that seems to have gone quiet. I think that the push to get rid of fertilizers has either been pushed back or they pulled back quietly and nobody's saying anything. But we don't hear too much about that one right now. But the the children thing is a big one. It's big in the US, it's big in Canada, and you have all these Christian groups. And we have a lot of Muslims that were welcome to Canada, and Muslims are no different than Christians when it comes to their children. They're very adamant that they are the ones that decide their upbringing and how they'll be brought up. And Muslim families do raise their children in the Muslim faith, just as Christians raise their children in the Christian faith. Okay, so protests all across Canada. I don't know if Mark and I will attend one of these. We may. So that will be, it wouldn't be the first march or rally that we've attended. We did attend quite a few no more lockdown rallies. And this is, as I said, it's another one. But this one, bear in mind, this one being right across Canada, all on the same day, schools shut down, and protests in every town, every city. The unions have decided that they're going to do their counter-protests on the same day. So it can get ugly, depending on what happens. I mean, Wednesday's normally a quiet day. People are at work. I don't know if they'll get out the amount of people that they're hoping to, but certainly if you have the counter-protesters out and schools are closed because no students are attending that day, well, you do have the counter-protesters available to attend these as well. So, yes, it could be an interesting situation, something to keep an eye on. Now, my personal feeling is that these are just the beginning, that you're going to see more and more protests by the population because life has become very difficult and in a lot of cases unbearable for many people, that so many thoughts and ideas and ideologies that they just abhor are being thrust upon them, that they are being told what they can do, what they can't do, what appliances they can buy, what they can't, what car they can drive, what house they can live in, what clothing almost, what haircuts they can have. It's getting to that point. Today, I mean, you're still allowed to wear the clothes that you want. That's still not a non-issue, and you're still allowed to have the haircut that you like. But literally, the foods you eat, the appliances you use, the cars you use, the fuels you use, all of those are being dictated to a very large degree. They want everything to be electric, but the grid can't handle it. Car manufacturers are being pushed to just produce electric cars. So what's going to happen when no one buys these cars? They sit on the lot, that the grid can't handle them anyway. So another way of making sure that that civilization collapses. I mean, it seems to be heading in that direction. And to what end? To what end? I don't think it's going to quite work out that way. I think that people will stand up and fight back. And we're starting to see that in many ways, that trying to rule an unruly population can be quite untenable. So anyway, should be an interesting next couple of weeks, the next couple of days. If I do attend this Million March for Children event, I'll post some videos, I'll post some data, but if I don't, perhaps we'll just get some news on the sidelines from it. Anyway, that is it for here. This is a Canadian situation. I know that in the US you have a lot of your own issues to deal with, but this is some of the events that are going on here and now. Anyway, I have my apple chips all out of the dehydrator, and they are lovely. Put in one of my mason jars and sealed. And I have my vinegar that I'm working on. So far, so good. You just have to keep an eye on that vinegar daily to make sure that it, once you see it starts to ferment, everything's good. But until that point, you really keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't go bad. If it does go bad, you toss it and you start again. But that's part of why I add a little bit of the vinegar that I had with some mother to give it that little spark and that little head start. Well, that's all I've got for now. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.